Do I hear we have a quorum. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes which have already been distributed to us?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to move has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Minutes are approved. Okay. The first item of business is the president's comments. I have a few comments. Well, you know, Ian is a year behind us, aren't we glad? Cleanup's mostly done. Some roofs and repairs are still to be done, but we do see the community getting better and better. I appeal to our residents to do your share of beautification. Go outside, step back, look at your roof, look at your driveway, look at your yard. If it needs improvement, please do so. And do it. You don't want to get a violation letter, just go ahead and do it. Our landscape committee is working with a landscape architect because they're going to have a design to make our place look even more beautiful. And that will be accompanied by our common area and bulk area vendors once that's put together. We have great potential there. The Lakes Committee is bringing a plan to bring our littoral plants up to our standard, getting quotes for erosion damage for our lakes. Our Finance Committee and Treasurer are well ahead of prior years in the budgeting process by getting our committees to submit their requirements in advance, so we're going to be a lot better this year. Our Lifestyle Director and Social Committee are keeping us busy with entertainment where we can all participate. So I'm very proud of our community, and we have a few more things to do, but let's go. Next, I'd like to hear the Treasurer's report. Shall we move?
Yep.
Okay.
Remembered. Okay. Okay, for the Treasurer's report, on the operating budget side, right now it looks like our operating budget is on track, with most of the year behind us, and I think from a positive note, I think we're going to end the year with a slight positive surplus. So I think that'll be helpful in terms of what we can carry over to the budget calculations for next year. Delinquencies are down. We'll go through a few details of what are going on with that. We're working with Associa back office personnel to implement our cash management mitigation plan. And over the next several months, we'll be trialing the use of the IntraFi account with one specific vendor to get comfortable with that, and and try to get into a full mode with that by the end of this year. Okay. Just want to get to the fun part. Okay. There we go. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. All right. Total reserve funds. Right now, our balance is sitting at $3.1 million. The balance in the Pacific Premier account is $400,550. Our Fifth Third balance is $2.7 million, and we're still currently working at a market yield of 2.8%. That's roughly even to what we reported last month. The good news is that we haven't made any more withdrawals out of the Fifth Third account. So as our T-bills get rolled over, we'll be starting to get T-bills at the higher 5% rate that's available today. So we'll start seeing that creep up. And once we put the money back in that account from the Hurricane Ian assessment, we'll also start seeing those yields go up. Reserve contributions is still a red flag. We'll go through that in a few more minutes. Hurricane Ian restoration efforts are ongoing. Chuck will go through those details during the general manager's report. As of this month, we have not seen any significant changes in the cost that were presented to the community for the Hurricane Ian assessment. In preparation for a year-end review of the financials, either at the December meeting or the January meeting, we'll do a complete top-to-bottom review of all the Hurricane Ian cost and the disbursement of the assessment funds. The first payment for the Hurricane Ian assessment is due October 1st. Everybody should have received their coupons by now in the mail. If there's anybody that still has an issue with that, please contact the front desk at the community center to see if we can sort through what's going on. We are actually starting to receive payments. And I think the significant thing is that we are now starting to get a separate set of financials associated with the Hurricane Ian account. I'm going to start reporting on that next month. As of the end of August, we have actually received 6 payments. So 6 out of 1425. So we're on a good roll so far. Got to start somewhere. Right. Year-to-date financials, right now we're running at a positive variance on the operating income side of about $114,000. Our reserve assessments are running year-to-date about $100,000 below budget. Specifically, last month in August, there were only 3 house sales. So we're still seeing significant sales volume decrease in the community. The good news is that we're not spending as much as we thought we were out of reserve funds for reserve projects, discretionary projects, so hopefully some of that will balance out over the course of the year when we plan out next year. As we mentioned in the past, user fees, rentals, collections continue to be ahead of budget. I think the community center has gotten to be a very attractive resource for the community. I understand from the social committee there's about 3 or 4 more rentals already booked for this facility for the end of the year, one of them being a wedding. So I just think that's a great supplemental income for the community. On the major expenses side, so now in going through the financials and preparing some of the work for the budget, one of the things that I found is that an expense associated with neighborhood landscaping was incorrectly posted to a GL account that was allocated to the rest of the community. So that is in the process of being corrected. So when you make a manual adjustment into the operating statement, we're now running at about $1,700 under plan for the neighborhood landscaping budget. The insurance negative variance is we start to see more insurance policies come through. We've seen approximately a 20% increase in the policies from what they forecasted last October and November that we used for the budget that we're seeing, not dissimilar to what we're all seeing as we see our homeowners policies get renewed with new higher rates. The other thing that we're looking at is utilities is some positive news there. In doing analysis and preparation for the budget, one of the members of the Finance Committee, Rob Perrin, was able to go through a lot of the details of the LCEC invoices for the course of the year. And one of the things that we see is that the electric rates have stabilized and the cost of electricity for LCEC has not continued to increase like we were seeing last year. So as a result, we're seeing a positive variance on utilities because we forecasted a higher rate increase in the electrics for this year. In the payroll, we're still working through some of the headcount issues to make sure that we had the right numbers in place. And the community landscaping, it's still a positive variance because of the work that was done in the first half of the year related to the assessment or the Hurricane Ian repairs. But we'll start seeing that catch up And as we take on doing more work around Hayden Lane and other areas that we have responsibility for maintaining, we'll see the common area expenses start to creep up. To date, we have not charged anything against contingencies. It still serves as a very good buffer on the operating budget. Most of the irrigation repair work was done in the first half of the year to repair after Hurricane Ian, or we are now starting to see some costs come through for normal repair activities. Our balance sheet. So starting next month, we will now have 3 balance sheets. We'll have an operating account balance sheet, a reserve account balance sheet, and a Hurricane Ian assessment balance sheet. So that'll be part of next month's report. On our operating balance sheet, it's following normal cyclical behavior. I had a meeting with Associate Bookkeeping earlier this week to work through some details that have to be done to get the balance sheet upgraded to reflect the recommendations of the 23-22 audit. So hopefully we'll see that reflected in the balance sheet over the next couple months. The reserve balance sheet, we've seen an overall increase in the reserve balance sheet for the first time this year, and that's because we're pretty stable with the money that is going out as opposed to the money coming in. We're not making large chunks of payments like we were earlier in the year, primarily for Hurricane Ian. On delinquencies, delinquencies is following cyclical decrease, although as you can see it has not decreased as much as it's done in the past. We're still seeing total delinquencies down. We had one very large long-term delinquency settlement that was canceled at the last minute. There were issues with the sale of the property that are still being worked through, so we're hopeful that gets resolved in the next couple months. Capital. As of the end of September, we have spent a total of $1,047,000 out of our capital reserves. Most of it is for Hurricane Ian-related activities. We're starting to see as the focus shift away from Hurricane Ian to normal activities to keep the physical infrastructure of the community up to snuff. We're seeing a lot more in the area of reserve activities that were planned from the reserve budget, and we're also seeing some activities, some discretionary activities coming through. At this point, I think the key number here is that with all the approved projects that are still pending with the money to be spent, like the bocce court upgrades that were approved 2 months ago, and the tiki hut for the dog park that was approved last month, it looks like with all of the planned activities going on, we're going to end the year about $62,000 to $50,000 ahead of what we had planned to spend on reserve projects. So that could get shifted to next year, because obviously the upgrades and the maintenance work needs to be done, but it helps in terms of how we can manage our assessments for the reserve accounts going forward. And that's it.
Good report, Bill.
Hey, Bill, this is Todd. I have a question.
Shoot, Todd.
I heard you mention, I know that you've been trying to work for several months, if not a year, to try to get the new fund due to adjustment on the balance sheet. Is that one of the things that you're trying to work with the associates to get that cleared up?
Todd, could you repeat that? Your question got a bit muffled.
There's the due to and the due from on the balance sheet. I know we've been trying forever to get that cleaned up. Is that one of the items you're working with the associates to have done?
So that's actually one of the items that I tried to get worked out with the bookkeeping people when I met with them this week. And let me try to give you my non-CPA explanation of it. What those due to from represent, that on the balance sheet, that represents the money that is sitting in the operating account lockbox that still has to be transferred to the reserve account. So if you see, so you'll see that it's treated as a liability on the operating balance sheet. I think if we're talking about the same thing. And if you look on the reserve balance sheet, it's treated as a asset.
That's exactly what my comment was. We've been working for almost a year to try to get that adjustment made so that it doesn't show up that way.
Well, we can talk about this offline, Todd, but as far as I understand, this is how we have to account for the money that's collected from the assessments before it is transferred to a reserve account. More than happy to sit down and go through this with you, and I can, we can set up a call with the accounting people at Socia to go through this with you.
Okay, can we proceed?
It's something that's been on my plate that I was hoping that they would adjust it. They haven't yet, so thank you.
Sure. Are you complete? Okay. Let's do general manager's report. Chuck.
Okay, first things first, violations. You have violations in your packet. I could read off all the account numbers, or you could just do a motion to accept all the violations.
I just wanted to understand the two account numbers that are the same, ending in 6795. The thousand, is that $1,000 total for those two violations? Is that what we're looking at, or is it $1,000 each?
It's $1,000 each. It's two separate violations.
Yeah, one dealing with the trailer, one dealing with the
Yeah. Both are
excavator.
both are commercial vehicles and not allowed on the property, and they were there for more than 10 days.
And difficult to collect.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Could I hear a motion to approve these violations?
I'll make a motion to approve these violations.
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Say aye.
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 Todd and Stan?
Aye.
All opposed, no? Motion carried.
Thank you very much. On to my report. As Bill mentioned, Ian, repair efforts. Well, first things first, the beautiful shed has been installed. Finally, we can now remove all of our things that were in the shed that are tucked in behind the dumpster and in the conference room and hidden all over the property here, put it into the shed and get rid of the clutter. So we're happy about that. Coming up this week, as if you're here, you'll notice that we have started to kill certain areas of grass where it's weeds. That will be removed, and next week, the 3rd and 4th, that will be removed and new sod will be put into place. The sod will also be put into place to kind of reform the beds that were destroyed in the hurricane, so now we have put them back into the regular shape. So we should see that next week. Also happening next week, starting Monday, the tennis court lights and basketball court lights will be installed. The basketball court will be closed Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, weather pending. If we get the rain, could go a little bit further, but we now have we'll have the lights finally repaired on the tennis court and the basketball court. Also this past week, the dog park at Calypso, we resodded. The fence has been completed. The dog waste stations have been installed. We're currently working to get the water line reestablished so the dogs have water to drink. And as mentioned, the tiki hut that was approved last meeting, we're now waiting an installation date for the tiki. Once the tiki is installed, we also have to let the sod kind of stay in place for about 3 weeks. But we're hoping to get the grand reopening of that. It's a social committee and communications. We were going to kind of maybe have John there with the big scissors and cut the ribbon. So
I'll bring that up.
bring your dog. Okay. As mentioned, today is 1 year since Hurricane Ian This afternoon we had a gathering here and a photo array of pictures that were taken shortly after the hurricane. And, you know, it's very easy to forget what we went through. But I appreciate all the people that came and the community got together and talked about their hurricane stories. And I think it was a well-attended event. This is the first time. We had no idea if anyone's going to show up. It's not something you normally celebrate. But we were shocked at 75, 80 people showing up. So kudos to the social for getting that up and running. Other regular maintenance. It's finally good to talk about things that aren't just Ian related, but the common areas, tree trimming and cul-de-sacs and pool is scheduled for October 12th. And I do have a proposal. This is Stan and Todd, forgive me, this was kind of a last minute situation. We're getting ready to do mulch in the common areas. I have two proposals, both exactly the same amount from two different vendors, one of which is directly from the mulch company themselves. The issue that I'm bringing in front of the board today is the budget amount for mulch this year was $82,500. The mulch quote is $101. What I have to bring this to the board's attention. Obviously, it's over budgeted, but we are running positive in categories of sod and seed and landscape other, and the difference is $19,167, and I'm asking for permission to move ahead with the mulch for this common, with transferring funds inside the operating budget to support the mulch. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a preference on which company you're going to go with? Because you just indicated that they're both the same price.
Moving forward, I believe Crawford has always done the mulch here, but they were buying it from this company. And this company was installing it. So a lot of the properties, HOAs in the area, there's two or three rather large vendors, this being one of them, and they have been doing mulch here in Sandoval for the last whatever years. So we've cut out the middleman and we're going direct. This is a practice that we're probably going to do next year with trees as well as mulch, so we can kind of get a better price.
My understanding is more cost effective that way, right?
Yeah. So with that, if I don't know if you want to just a motion to approve the overspend or.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Todd, Stan, Dave? No? Ready for a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? It's approved. Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, just activities, budget. We are deep into budget season now. I've been meeting with the finance committee as well as the individual committees to make sure that we get all the numbers that we need to put in front of the financial committee. And last but not least, an action item that I had and just wanted to get back to you. The topic was Town Square board member training. I'm expecting a webinar to be sent to me tonight that I will forward to the board that will give you the training you need to go in as a board member and see all of the Town Square information, delinquencies. You now see the budget. You know, the budget only goes to the board. The trimmed down version goes to the owners. But you'll see all of that information. I will send that out to you either tonight or tomorrow.
Okay. We need it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck.
That's it for me. Any
So
questions?
it looks like we don't have to have a big excuse to have a party at Sandoval, and I think that's wonderful. People are enjoying themselves, and celebrating a hurricane is just great, right? Do we have any old business?
No.
Any new business?
No.
No. Let's go to the committee reports. Landscaping. Dave, are you representing the committee, or you have a committee member?
I'm representing the committee.
Okay.
We just finished putting together a RFP for the common landscaping area. It was reviewed by Bill Dunker, and we made the recommended changes that he suggested. So I would like to make a proposal that we approve this so we can move forward with it.
Is that a motion?
Yes, does anybody have any questions
Well,
before?
let's get a second first before we talk.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Yeah, I have a question. This is, just so people know, it's not that we're gonna cut out Crawford, it's just we're gonna have Crawford and others compete for that work.
Yes.
Right? And which is good. Competition is always good. And I think Crawford has not been quite as spiffy as they have in the past, and there are all kinds of good reasons to either shock them into doing better or look for a competitor.
Yes.
Dave, I got a question. What's the timeline for the process?
Once we get it approved, we're gonna get it out to 3 or 4 vendors. We're not gonna send it out to as many vendors that we did the bulk landscape. And we're gonna push to get them in here and to provide bids by the end of October, but I'm hoping to get an idea so we can put something in the budget.
Okay.
Well, the objective, I believe the Crawford contract is annual at January 1st, is it not?
Yes.
So it would behoove us to get it done prior to that time.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm pushing it for the budget.
That's why we need to approve this now. Okay. Any questions, Todd or Stan?
Not on mine, and I support it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Go here. Are you ready for the question? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay, motion carried to proceed with the RFP for the common area landscaping. Any other report from landscape?
Well, Chuck mentioned about having a landscape designer in here. I would expect to have the entire design within the next couple of weeks,
Good.
along with cost, so that we can go out and solicit costs from other companies.
Yeah, I would imagine that whatever, that design, we would integrate with our vendors in order to save the most money.
Yes, and this is not okay, we're gonna go out and do this all at once. This is gonna
Right.
take a few years to get everything back the way it was. So,
Actually, I think we should try to get it better than it was.
well,
All right. And then- Okay, Dave, communications.
communications, the communication committee continues to maintain the website. There's a lot of updates coming through. So that's taken up a lot of their time. The other thing is just a FYI, when you first go into the website, there's the public page. They put together statistics that's telling us there's about 20,000 users that go to our public page a month. And
20,000?
20,000.
Is it 20,000 unique?
That I'm not 100% sure on. It's just, I think all it measures is how many times we get a hit out there.
Okay.
Because they're not logging in.
This is on Live Sandoval?
Yes.
Wow.
And-
Is it, okay, I suppose I can just ask some questions directly to the committee then about, because there's a difference between number of total visitors and unique visitors.
I understand that. And I think that 20,000 is number of visitors per month.
Okay,
So it could be the same person 30 times
Yes.
Good.
yes.
if they go on every day.
Doesn't it require,
Pardon?
doesn't it require a password?
Not to get, when you first go into the website, before you log in, you can look at the governing documents, you can look at the amenities that we have, and something that we just added is you can look at the different activities that we have going on.
I think that's great.
So,
And also
Any
there's some
problem with that?
information for real estate agents too, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Is that useful to you?
Sure.
Good, good. Okay,
And that's it for
okay.
communications.
Who's got a report for ARC? Marilyn, Andrew, or
Well,
ARC? Christian,
I don't
Andrew?
see Rob here, but received an email from Marty indicating that there were 71 packets that they looked at during this month, and that there have been no challenges to come to the board.
Okay, well, it was 100 last month, so at least it's going down a
So
little
it's
bit.
going down. And I will, as I remember, many of the applications were just a single page, so they didn't have the backup material attached, so that's why they were held.
Anybody listening, you should know that
They've
if you
got-
submit an ARC application, you need to fill out the whole thing, including the documentation.
That
Right.
one-page document was for those that were trying to evade, might be too strong a word, but evade the cleaning requirement of the roofs. So they know that they need to make a replacement.
Yeah.
My understanding from a perspective of process is Yamali is now supporting the ARC committee in receiving the applications and doing the review
I
that
thought it was-
Chris
I thought it was
that Chris had been
McKenna.
doing.
Yeah, McKenna.
McKenna?
Okay.
All right. It's getting processed not by Chris any further is the point, and they have caught that error, and they're going to hold those one-page documents and work with Chris from a compliance perspective on the roofs.
And one reason for that is Chris is a very valuable employee. We need him to be more on compliance issues. Taking that burden away from him, giving it to McKenna, lets him do more about bringing our standards up to bear right away. Okay. Anything else from Art?
That was it.
I think that's it.
That was,
Okay.
yep, I brought it with me, and that was it. Yep.
Okay, social, Marilyn.
Well, under the social, we had another meeting just this last Tuesday, which Bill was there for part of the meeting. We had a presentation on recognizing Hanukkah. And Jessica's contacting the Jewish Center in downtown Cape Coral so that we can move forward with having the lighting during the Hanukkah celebration. In addition, there was discussion, of course, of Halloween because it's coming up. And it looks like it's going to be a really big event as it has been in the past. And when I came in this evening, I see this holiday lighting proposal. And maybe, since I haven't seen it before, maybe Chuck wants to address it.
I will. And actually, Jessica was supposed to be here this evening, so something came up. But if you remember, the social committee was presented with a Christmas light decoration enhancement, I would say. She looked at 2 or 3 different vendors, and a lot of the comments were that last year's decorations were nice, but not enough. So with the social committee's help, this proposal was presented to the social committee, which is an increase from what was budgeted, and that's what this, oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong thing, sorry about that. Oh, hold
No,
on.
it is. It's
Check that.
increased.
Oh, vendor policy. So, let me get the vendor policy.
Well, we're on holiday lighting right now.
What's
I'm on holiday lighting,
Yeah.
all right. I'm just looking at what I'm supposed to be talking about on the agenda here, that lifestyle vendor operations policy.
Yeah.
This was presented to the social committee. Social committee signed off on the additional monies to go from 18,000 to 22,000. And it was also presented to the finance committee. It was approved at the finance committee level. And what it means is the 19 points of attraction we had last year, we're now going up to 40, which includes the Pine Island Gate, a lot more things that were not covered last year. This is a 3-year fixed price, and it's done by a professional general contractor. This kind of is a lease that we kind of secure this equipment, so it's ours for the next 3 years. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the increase.
And let me mention that from what Jessica has presented to the social committee, it sounds to me like we're just going to have an outstanding, the lighting on the 10th of December, the decorations for the whole month of December into January. The company that we had in the past, they went up $1,000 this year. So who's to say they won't go up $1,000 each additional year? And this one is a locked-in amount for 3 years. and we're getting at least twice as much. So it makes a lot of sense to go ahead. One of her thoughts was to have this area in, I think in Aqua. Bill, you were there during
Yeah.
it, and you mentioned,
So-
is that going to increase the cost if we change it next year or the year before? I don't have the answer to that.
So, well, she's researching that in terms of being able to vary the light colors from year to year.
From year to year, right.
But, yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, I have a couple comments after we make the motion on this.
Well, the motion needs to be made by a board member, it needs to be specific as to dollars, so
Okay.
who's making?
So I'll make the motion to increase the budget for the holiday lights from 15,000 to 24,000.
I'll
Is that
second.
what you, is that what you want, Chuck?
Yep.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Any further, any discussion? Do you have more
So-
discussion?
All I want to just say is just put this in context. The budget was put together last year because if you remember in the late fall time frame, there was a lot of scrambling going on after Hurricane Ian. Kathleen and some members of the social committee scrambled and got some decorations up. And this number was what they spent last year. So the number that was in the budget wasn't without any real due diligence or research. So from my understanding, this number is still below the average for other communities that are still in the 30 to 40 range. So I think this is an appropriate increase of the budget. And the Finance Committee was okay with that.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Chuck, now you wanted to talk about, we'd asked Jessica to prepare an idea for change in our practices having to do with vendors working in here, like tennis pros and people teaching dancing and that sort of thing, and yoga, so forth. So I understand you have that language?
Yeah, I think everybody has the language
Okay.
included in the packet. And additionally, if I'm not mistaken, I think it went through the risk committee, didn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it did.
So
It did.
consequently, I think that takes away some of the questions that we might have since the risk committee did approve it.
Is it too long to read? How long is it?
Well, I read it this afternoon in about
It's about 20 pages.
15
Oh, and
minutes or so.
no, we don't do that. Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to read it tonight.
I've read it, and I approve it. And basically what it means is, we will have tight control over those vendors working in here. We'll make sure they're insured and we have background checks to make sure they're not sex offenders or things like that. So, I highly approve this work. It's better than we've ever done before. So you have a motion?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve our new vendor operations policy.
I'd like to suggest
Second
an
first.
amendment to that motion.
We need a second first.
I'll second that.
Okay.
The amendment that I'd like to add to that motion is that this supersedes the motion that was made last year on vendor policy.
Oh,
Because there was a motion approved by the board last year that was the source of having to go back and rethink what the policy should be. I believe that was approved at the June or July meeting of last year.
Do I have a second to his amendment?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion of the amendment? Okay, let's vote for the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, which is to negate last year's policy, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, now, for the motion. Any further discussion on the motion?
No, I think this is pretty
I do
comprehensive.
too. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. We have a new vendor policy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jessica.
All right.
Okay. Next, we have, Stan, you have something for amenities. Stan, are you there?
I am here. Christine Peterson is, that correction, Rob Purcell there? If she is, I don't think we have anything unless she wants to address any of us.
No, Rob's not here. Okay, how about,
We're good.
how about safety and security?
Safety and security, Christine Peterson's got a presentation of traffic safety devices that we've been looking at.
Okay, let's hear Christine. Come on up, Christine. Is a mic working for her?
Yeah.
Is there a plug-in?
You gotta use it.
Here.
Oh, it's, you need something to stand on?
You have one before? Okay.
You gotta look over that computer.
Yeah, 1, 2.
Hey, Jack? Yeah. You have to push it away, because her computer and her. are the same
Oh,
height.
so you're not gonna see it?
So you're already gonna see.
Turn it so the computer is not.
Hey, you
blocking.
directing this now?
He's our producer. Sure.
Want it this way?
Beautiful.
All right. You talking to this?
Okay, let's give Christina our attention, please. Okay.
Not everything I gotta do.
What? Are you making a pitch?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Okay. We have to leave. All right.
Where are we going?
Gotta kill more life. All right.
How's that?
The buttons.
That's it.
Okay.
So I want to thank you guys, all the members of the board and the community for listening to our proposal tonight. My name is Christine Peterson, and I am the chairperson of the Safety and Security Committee. That committee started out a little over 2 years ago, and the main purpose of it was to deal with traffic issues. So we are working on some traffic calming proposals. We have a 2-part plan that would encompass this year and next year. So part 1, our goal is to complete that in 2023, and our goal is for 2023 is to reduce stop sign violations and increase notification of the Sandoval speed limit. Part 2 for 2024, our goal for that is going to be to reduce speed limit violations. So our recommendations that we're making, the Traffic and Security Committee is recommending the purchase of 15 solar LED retrofit kits for all stop signs on Sandoval Parkway and Sandoval Boulevard to improve stop sign compliance, along with 2 LED speed limit signs to increase speed limit notification. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about these kits. Some of the research done about these kits by the state of Oregon and a U.S. Highway Department study is that they reduce roll-throughs by 28.9%. They reduce the risk of blow-through and failure to stops by up to 52%. They increase school stops by 40%, reduce the risk of right-angle crashes by 42%. They don't blend into the environment, so that is improved visibility, especially for vendors and visitors who are unfamiliar with our stop sign locations. And I also can speak to the fact that I was zoned out one day on Sandoval Parkway and almost went through one of the stop signs and had to stop myself, literally suddenly, and slammed on my brakes. So sometimes we zone out, we're not paying attention, so it happens even when we're familiar. These are going to be visible at a greater distance. They can be installed directly on our current stop signs, so we don't have to purchase new stop signs. The entirety of all 15 costs under $10,000. They operate up to 15 days without any sunlight. They have multiple different blinking settings, including a solid setting. The batteries are replaceable, and they can be installed by our maintenance team. Our solar LED speed limit signs. The benefits of these are, again, doesn't blend in with the environment, greater visibility, but these do help influence driver behavior by reducing speeds. Also give better notice to vendors and visitors. Again, visible from a greater distance. And what we are recommending is placement on Sandoval Parkway and Boulevard just inside the entry gates. And again, these can be installed by maintenance. Any questions from the board?
Well, yeah, but we're not at our place. I've got I've got something. Do we have quotes from more than one vendor?
Yes, I have worked on the requisition form. We have 3 quotes from 3 different vendors for everything.
Okay, because I had heard that was not the case. Okay, thank you. Has it gone to the finance committee?
No, we are ready to send it tonight
Okay,
To the finance committee.
to the finance committee.
okay. The, next question is, Stan, are you there? Stan,
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
you support this?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I didn't think you did. Well, one, I think the idea of the stuff, of posting speed limits is outstanding. I don't know, I don't remember, we had one up for how long? I thought you had one up on Land Bank,
We didn't have it up for very long.
but I never saw it.
Yeah.
So
I
there's-
applaud-
That thing was up for like 2 days, and then the company took it back.
Did
Yeah,
it?
it was here for free,
Yeah.
and unfortunately it's solar, and it was put underneath the tree, so
Okay.
that didn't work out real well. So, but I think what you're talking about also is, we're currently testing the wind.
Yes,
There's also
there's-
a device that's being tested now.
Okay. But I applaud your work, I appreciate it. But we're not in a position to vote on it until it goes through finance, all right? But thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for your time and thank you.
Any questions of the board? All right.
Well, I just, can you come to the finance committee meeting? It's going to be that last Tuesday in October to present that.
Yeah.
If you can get the package to us before that, then we can get it circulated and get that through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Really.
Thank you, Christine, very much.
I have a question. Would these be placed on every stop sign on the Parkway and Boulevard? Or just some of the stop signs? I'm just... Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, it would be on every stop sign that's along Sandoval Parkway and Sandoval Boulevard, and when we counted, we came up with 15 of them.
And how did this quote for, compare with the others, since you've got 3 different companies involved?
I would have to look at it, but it looked like the stop signs and the LED solar speed limit signs would come from different companies because the one with the stop signs was more expensive for the speed limit signs. So,
Let's let you get to finance. Okay.
All right. So can I just, there's one other question I've got on this that we'll be doing between now and the end of the month. Can you sit down with a map and show us if any of those signs would be visible from a residence or not be visible?
sure,
Because
yeah.
I think if we put those in and then there's 1 or 2 residents that complain about it, then we'll have an issue. So I think we need to sort of do that due diligence before the approval.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
So, the finance committee?
Yes. The first thing I'd like to report on the finance committee is that one of the members of the finance committee resigned, Colleen McCracken. She had too many personal conflicts in order to be able to participate in the committee. So we have an opening, and if anybody is interested in being part of the finance committee, we certainly would look at any applications coming in.
Submit it to our general manager.
Submit it to our general manager through the normal process.
Right.
Second thing is where a lot of our focus is on budget activity. As I mentioned, Rob Heron did a really yeoman's work, going through the LCEC invoices to try to get our arms around the utility cost. We've had meetings with Social, Lakes, and also had discussions with the GM on headcount and salary line for next year. So we're moving forward, and we're cautiously optimistic we will make the deadlines for the budget.
Thank you. Covenants.
Yes, sir. Covenants met last Thursday, as we normally do, on the 3rd Thursday of every month. Of the violations that were approved at the end of last month at the board meeting, only one individual stood for repeal.
Listed.
Did find that they had actually put request for roof replacement in 2018, and the roof was installed in 2019, so we did catch a little error in our evaluation of whether or not roofs were approved prior to placement. I will say it probably wasn't our biggest highlight, but at least that individual presented a lot of detailed information, maintained their file, which was good. So the committee did overturn that fine. Nobody else showed up for the others. What was brought to our attention was, I was happy to hear we had Yamali and Chris in the meeting. Not that we don't like seeing Chuck, but I do like seeing the delegation of responsibility down to the two of them. Yamali will be helping Chris with some of those violation stuff on the back side.
Okay.
On the back side, on the administrative side is what I'm talking about. It's freeing up Chris to do enforcement, which is something that the Covenant's chair continues to push for as we do. So, good meeting. It was short and brief, and like I said, we did catch a roof error, which I'm glad that we did.
Thank you.
You skipped Lakes.
I skipped Lakes. I apologize.
That's yours, Mr.
Never, I
Robbins.
just skipped you, Jane.
Thanks. Yeah, it wasn't to that tonight.
I had to really look at it.
Hell.
I saw someone else, didn't you? Yeah.
Thank you. Can you email me your presentation? Thank you.
So the Lakes Committee met on the 14th, and the minutes are posted at our webpage. Biggest thing we're working on right now, several things. So we're putting together the numbers for the budget for next year to get to the Finance Committee. The big ticket item, the items we're looking at is continued a maintenance contract for the lakes. We want to plant littorals next year. We'll have our evaluation and see where they need to be planted. We're looking at doing shoreline repairs, and we want to have 3 fishing events next year. So those are all things we're looking at to get numbers for the budget. We're still waiting for estimates from 2 vendors on doing shoreline repair. Hopefully we get those numbers soon. We are planning another fishing event for November 26th. This one will be open to the whole community, of course, and all the lakes will be included. There'll be more information on that, but we're looking at charging a registration fee that will be refunded after you complete participation in a fishing event, so that we don't have people registering and not showing up, and filling up all the registration. The pond watch values are being consistent, but we're looking at pond watch did a sampling yesterday or Monday of all the lakes, and they're going to do one the 30th of October. So we see if there's what any kind of difference would be from before and after fertilization can start. And we're also still waiting for more information from the vendor on trying to trap some of the invasive species. They're looking at developing a pilot program, and we would be a test site for that.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
By the way, the Pond Watch is doing extra work because normally they only cover all the lakes once a year. And they're going to do at least twice this year, at least twice. So they're really working hard on Watch. They've asked for some more vests so that people know who it is in their backyard. And so I told Stu that we approved at least 4 more vests for them for having 6 people out looking at that. Is that the right number? Stu? Yeah, okay. Thank you all very much. Todd, do you have anything for risk management?
Yes, sir, I do. Just kind of briefly, just want to give an update that Craig Snyder has been working with our insurance adjuster to final insurance proceeds check put together. Chuck has been getting the documentation for us on the final repairs. Once we have that submitted, we have been promised a final insurance proceeds check that is much better than we anticipated, which is good news. But as they say, we will be ecstatic when we get the check in our hands and we know exactly what that number would be, but we've been given good news at this point. So we'll be real satisfied if we can wrap this up sooner than later. Other things, Bill Dunker, who once again continues to be a valuable asset to us as a community, has worked with Jessica on the vendor management agreement, which we all reviewed tonight, approved. This tightens up our process and closes our liability exposures. He also has worked with the landscaping committee's RFPs, most recently on the common area agreement, which is fantastic because we're trying to get this moving very quickly. The last but not least of risk management is we are working with Chuck in order to come up with a formal disaster preparedness plan for the community. And this will be one of the top priorities for us in 2024. Last but not least, we are also working with our insurance professionals, E&T, on what our 2024 insurance premiums will be for property, wind, liability, and flood. And once we have that indication, we'll be communicating that with the Finance Committee. Unfortunately, they have been, we don't have any hard numbers yet because the insurance carriers are not providing us real good numbers with the renewal cost. And as Bill had mentioned during his treasurer's report, obviously insurance premiums will be significantly higher in the upcoming year. That's all I have for risk management, Mr. President.
Thank you, Todd. Next, strategic planning, and I assume that you're asking Jerry to do that for you today, right?
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Jerry Kern, who's going to present to us the strategic planning committee report to us. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jerry, but I would also like to thank the committee with Bethany Holte, Zach Towns, Eric White, and Jamie Fry. They just put in tremendous amount of effort and hours into this, and I think they did a marvelous job. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jerry.
I think so too. I've read the report and it is outstanding. So, Jerry, please.
Thanks for stealing some of my thunder there, Tom. But no, first and foremost, I certainly wanted to thank my fellow committee members for all of their time, their patience, support, and cooperation. I would also like to add to the list that Todd just read off, Bill Simonelli, and obviously our liaison, Todd Reinhardt, for your continued support and guidance through this whole process. I hope the board has had an opportunity to see the report that was provided. We met as late as this past Wednesday just to try to validate that we were all in agreement with the final version that we have submitted. I think the strategic planning committee has definitely worked very diligently, tirelessly, and dedicated countless hours to produce this first ever strategic plan for Sandoval. We've gathered our information from all the various committees. They've organized the information, analyzed the information, refined the requirements and data that has been input, and then we went back to the committees for additional input and information and did the whole process probably about 4 times in total. While this is definitely the first edition of this particular report for our community, it's not as complete as we would desire, but it does definitely identify some of the major efforts that our community currently has been working on, as well as identifies opportunities for improvement for our community. Some of the main things that it will point out is based upon the information that we've gathered. It's recommended by the Strategic Planning Committee that we probably need to form at least 3 new committees. We've got 2 committees that are specifically focused on external factors, be it external governance as well as external business opportunities and opportunities for enhancement and engagement with our community. We had a 3rd committee that was actually promoted by the Covenants Committee and Art Committee kind of together. Both said we probably should have a separate committee that looks at our overall governance and handbook and does maybe an annual review of those documents for their completeness and potential improvements. So again, that wasn't an SBC recommendation, that actually was a recommendation for an additional committee from one of the committees. Our practice of doing long-range planning has just not been common practice within Sandoval over the course of our existence thus far. And I think this paradigm shift is definitely going to take some time for to be adopted appropriately. I think so far, what I've seen from the committees, they kind of just never thought of it that way. Not that they didn't agree with it, they just have not taken the time to do that. We've been so engaged in the here and now, we really haven't focused on, longer term projects that maybe extend beyond 1 or 2 years. And we're already seeing a lot of our committees are already shifting their focus and looking farther down the road than the current and immediate needs. The strategic planning committee's plan is we want to continue to hold probably at least quarterly updates and get together with all of the various committees. We want to continue to document the efforts that the various committees are currently actively engaged upon. We want to make sure that we're updating our strategic plan as we move forward and assist in this planning focus and move from the here and now to a brighter future for all of Sandoval. We ask the residents as we look to the board for guidance in our continuity. Strategic Planning Committee asks that the board seriously consider the suggestions within the report as presented and take the steps needed to lead us forward as a united community. Please accept the strategic plan as is presented for your consideration and adoption. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, outstanding work, thorough work. We looked at things that many of us hadn't even considered. What I want to do now is to charge the board members with looking at the plan, giving your comments to the plan in writing back to me before our next board meeting. I'll double check with you mid-month to see how we're doing. But this needs our attention, and it'll be a wonderful document. So thank you very much, Jerry. The next meeting is, are we sure it's October 25th? We got everything squared away with the...
That's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's
That's
Wednesday,
yeah.
because Thursday, Friday, they're going to
Yeah,
need
because
this.
we need it for the Halloween. Okay, so the next board meeting will be on a Wednesday,
Right.
October 25th. And if there's nothing else, yes, Bill?
In Town Hall on November 2nd for the budget meeting.
Oh,
So
yes.
everybody has visibility on that too.
Town Hall November 2nd, okay.
Yeah.
We'll certainly get that announcement out. Okay, then, with no further information, we will adjourn and open for resident comments. Any resident comments or questions?
I have one.
Come on up. Come on up. Beth Ann.
Just something to contemplate. When we heard about the covenants and the fines, respect that you can't divulge particulars, but it would be nice for the community to know what kinds of things are being fined. Because we see, right, that people may take the attitude, I don't care if I'm fined $1,000, I have this beautiful new roof, and so what are the repercussions? But if I think the community hears what the fines are for, then maybe people would be more careful about what they do.
Well, that's a reasonable question, Chuck. Most of them, how many were roofs?
Most of them, except for the trailers. All the rest are dirty roofs.
Okay, dirty roofs,
No,
yes.
but new roofs, I'm
Well,
curious.
How about new roof issues?
No, not yet,
No,
but
no,
not yet.
none this time.
Okay.
The big ones were commercial vehicle trucks, the $1,000 ones. Yeah.
But we don't know as of yet, there were no fines as of yet for the roofs.
Yes, sir, has been.
There has been, okay.
Yes,
So I
yes,
think
there
that's
has.
just important information for the community, because a lot of people are upset and they
We
take
said
the other.
that- we said that last board meeting,
You said what last board meeting?
about that particular fine.
Right, but what I'm saying is consistently, it may not be a roof, but if people know that the board is taking things seriously and that we are trying to maintain structure in Sandoval, I think that's very important, because a lot of us feel like, well, I'm doing my piece, but around me, it's not good news. And so I think that people need to know that you put your money where your mouth is.
So if I can,
Thank you.
if I can try to answer that question. So I think Andrew reported that there was one person who presented at the covenants hearing, and that was overturned. So the other ones were put through. Am I on?
Yeah.
The other two, if you don't show up to the hearing and the covenants ratifies the board, fine. So that's kind of automatic. That was last. These are new ones that will have a hearing date 14 days hence, and an opportunity for them to come forth and explain their case, and it's up to the covenants committee at the hearing to adjudicate. And we can't, Florida statute allows us to be very cautious. You know, Jerry's shaking his head because he's a CAM. There's been litigation against HOAs because divulging some of this information is against Florida statute. So what we do, that's why we use account numbers, the violations. You're kind of hearing what they are, but I don't know if we can go the next step and say that account number 123 paid a $1,000 fine for a bad word.
I guess what I'm looking for is, and it's not so much for me, but I think people need to hear that what this is happening in our community. I'm not saying that you need to give specifics, but maybe it could be something like, this quarter, there were 4 fines imposed because of not abiding by the standards for roofs or for dirty roofs, or just to give a sense. And if it's not possible,
Good
then
point.
that
No,
would
we'll
be
do that.
something.
Well, good point. We'll do that.
Yeah.
So this month we had 5 $100 fines and 2 $1,000 fines.
But what they-
$100 fines for dirty roofs and the $1,000
I don't
fines.
know specifics.
But again, homeowners want to be very cognizant right now of maintaining the roofs if they are not needing replacement. So that's returning to cleaning those roofs. Homeowners want to make sure you're taking care of your driveways from a cleanliness as well as weeding perspective. And as was noted at the last meeting, make sure you're getting any of your architectural changes approved by the architectural committee.
Thank you very much.
And Chuck, just so for my own clarification, the fines that you're talking about that were identified for violations, those are in essence where the compliance group has made notification of a potential fine and the board is making the judgment to proceed forward, correct?
They've also had an opportunity for a hearing. The new
And
law.
so now these folks will ultimately have an opportunity for hearing. I guess maybe to advance.
They've already had the opportunity.
No,
Not these have not.
When the board approved those fines tonight,
Yeah.
they have a certified letter that goes to them that they have 14 days advance notice of the hearing.
And the new Florida statute came to effect September 1st. They don't have to be there. They still get an appeal. So
Yes.
everyone gets an appeal.
Yes.
Yes, but my understanding is the covenants/finding committee must be present. So they cannot, you
They
cannot
must be.
just schedule when we are aware of an appeal, we have to be
Yeah,
there.
we have to.
Yeah, we have to.
Absolutely, you're right.
But I think maybe what Beth Ann was talking is post-appeal.
Yes.
Could you maybe just give a summary, again, not of the entities, but of the violations? So we know that there were violations actually imposed for these specific infractions.
I think I can include that in my GM report monthly and at a high level without infringing on anybody's
Right.
personal information.
Just the categories of the items being enforced.
And I also would like to be clear that every homeowner gets a warning letter, then they get another more forceful reminder to get it done, then they're getting that third notice of what we're doing tonight, along with the intention to find meeting that needs to be attended.
Right.
There's plenty of opportunity between those to work with the community, work with the compliance officer, to get the situation corrected so that we're not getting to what we're doing today or in on the third Thursday of every month. So,
Okay.
Thank
We-
you're very welcome.
We covered that. Anything else?
I have one question.
Sure.
They're talking about beautification of the community. My question is the villas on Wheeler, those roofs are dirty. Those roofs are, some of them have stuff all on top of them. It's a year now. What is that, even though I don't live there, but I drive around, anybody coming into the community, driving around, what's the status on that? What about
I
that?
don't know, are all the roofs in the villas to be replaced?
No.
No, Associate doesn't manage the villas, it's managed by First Services, so.
Right.
They have a sub-association that manages those.
So
We don't have to,
I know it's part of our community, but do you talk to them and say the same way we have to keep our roofs clean and in order?
Yeah, we can.
What are we doing, like, what's the status? Is this going to go on for 2 or 3 years with a mess? It does affect, like, if I decided to want to sell my house, you know, how you drive through communities, that would affect the value of who wants to live here and who doesn't. Same thing with the condos, that's all part of when people go around looking.
And I'll speak to the
Are we communicating with them, because they are part of our.
Okay, folks, are we going to end the meeting? We shouldn't have.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought the meeting was ended, but that's my question.
Marty, you got more pickleball stuff?
Yeah, we talked about that on the Coffee and Conversation, about putting a sign up on the pickleball courts from 8 to 10, 7 days a week in the morning, residents only. This is getting really nuts. People are bringing 3 guests in there, they're taking all the courts, we can't play, and then at night, 6 to 9, 7 days a week. If you want to bring a guest, you can come at noon, 1 o'clock, whatever. But we're getting pushed out because too many guests are coming in here, and we're paying HOA fees for somebody else to use our facility.
We heard you last time, I think, and we're working on it.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Stan was at the meeting. I don't know if
Yes.
he was on the phone.
Yeah, he was.
Stan was gonna take that to the
Yeah,
committee.
Yeah, Stan, you guys going to work on that for amenities, right? Are you still there? You might have quit.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, well, we'll follow up on that. Yes?
I would like an answer
An answer to what?
to what we're doing about other, community, the village, condos,
Right now, what we're doing about the
Are we
villas,
communicating with them?
I have a little bit of information. The lady that was spoke to at the social committee lives across the street, which is the Pamlico, which is also part of the villas. And there is still no agreement from the insurance company, and that's been the holdup. But they do have their own board. I think we oversee that board, but we would need some kind of recommendation from them. And the holdup is the insurance company, because all of them are covered by the same policy.
that's been a real mess. Financial mess.
We both just said the
I
master
know, but
does not have
I understand that part, but.
the ability to enforce and compliance.
This board doesn't handle that board.
It's a matter of.
Part of our community, if we have to keep our roofs clean and we keep our landscape nice, that is part of our community.
Understand.
Tell them to do. Yeah.
Are we finished?
Okay, folks, I think we're done. Thank you.